All right, welcome to Unit 2. It's Mr. Burns here, talking about the Elections and Political Process Unit. One of my favorites. It's a long one. It's about 6 to 7 weeks, but it's a good one, and it is an important one. And it'll lead us right up to Election Day, which is coming up November 6th. All right, so voter participation and voter registration participation notes here. You should have this handout in front of you while you watch this flip video from room A110 or from the comfort of your own home. Here we go. Voting is a civic responsibility. We talked about that in Unit 1, and that's why this topic is what I like to introduce Unit 2, because it's perfect. It's a nice segue. It's a nice transition. It's a basic responsibility. You don't have to do it. You should do it. You should get involved in the democratic process, choosing our representatives, people that represent us in our representative democracy. All right. Every vote is important. Okay? Could come down to one vote. Whether that be in the local state elections or that could be in the national elections. Okay, one vote could make the difference. So every vote is important. You need to get out there and vote when you are able to. Okay. But before you vote, what do you have to do? You have to register to vote. Okay, you can't just show up on election day, and at least in Virginia, and register to vote. There are some states that allow registration the day of the election, but we are not one of them. Okay. So there's two different types of elections that we have. This was two of your vocab words: primary election and general elections. Okay, this year's general election is going to be on November 6th. All right, the primary election is going to be sometime in June. All right, so primary election in June. That decides who is running for office, right? So I'm going to use a sports analogy. So if you are ready. All right, so this was Super Tuesday. I don't know if you remember that a couple years ago. We got the day off. Super Tuesday was an election day. We got a snow day for that, even though it didn't snow. It was a beautiful day. All right, here we go. All right, this is a sports analogy. If you don't like sports, this might not help you. But a primary election is like the playoffs. So it's where the candidates from the same political party, or in other words, the same division or conference, are going against each other to see who gets the nomination, to see who gets to the championship. So Republican versus Republican, a Democrat versus a Democrat, third party candidate from this party against third party candidate from this party. Okay? They compete, they're trying to get to the finals. One person from each party is selected to get to that championship game. All right? The general election, that's like your Super Bowl, your Stanley Cup, your World Series, okay? Your finals. Okay, this is it right here. This is where the Republican and the Democrat and even a third-party candidate go head-to-head and try to win the nomination, win that election, okay? And they're trying to take office and then get their policies put into place and work with the people to improve their local or state or national area, right? Okay, so that's the general election. All right, so in order to vote in Virginia, what qualifications do you need to have? There's a few of them. You have to be a citizen. So if you're born or if you're naturalized, you can vote in elections. Okay, it's one reason that a lot of people choose to go through the naturalization process, because they want to vote. Okay? You have to be a resident of Virginia and your local precinct. So you're a resident of Virginia to vote in Virginia elections, right? And then your precinct is going to be a territory that's pretty much carved out in Virginia for voting purposes, okay? There's the Braddock precinct, there's the Springfield precinct where we are located, okay? And then you have to be 18 years old by the day of the general election. So if you're 17, and it's the primary elections in June, you turn 18 in July or August or September or October, you can vote in that primary election as long as you've registered ahead of time, and then you can vote in the general election when you're 18, okay? So this is a little table of when you will be able to vote. Okay, check it out. See when you'll be able to vote. The good news, all of you can vote in 2024 for a president. Remember, there's elections every year. You got to vote every year for your state and local elections as well, not just the president. Okay, the next time you'll be able to vote for governor, you guys won't be able to vote, it's 2021. But then in 2025, you'll be able to vote for a governor as well in Virginia. All right, so how to register to vote in Virginia. So one thing you can do is you can go in person at the registrar's office, which is at the Fairfax County Government Center out in Fairfax. That is where the Fall Fest is, and that's where the Kickoff of summer is the Fairfax Festival in June. Okay. You can apply by mail, but you can also go, this is where you can get your voter registration application, the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, the public libraries, the government offices, etc. And then the easiest way is to register online. All right. So next, when is registration closed? In Virginia, it closes 22 days before the election day, or the day of the general election. So 10/15/18 this year. Okay. All right. So who's going to vote? Who will vote? Who will not vote? And what factors will determine that? Age is one factor. Usually older people are more invested in their community. They vote more often than younger people. Education. People who are more educated tend to vote more often and more consistently than people who have less of an education. Maybe if people who have only a high school diploma or no high school diploma. Right? And then income. People who make more money tend to vote more often. And that kind of goes along with the education and the age as well. Right? All right. Why don't people vote? This is important. Why don't people choose? Why do they choose not to vote? Well, one, you could be not interested. Maybe whatever happens, you don't care. Okay? Lack of interest, apathy is a word that's often used here. You're not registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, then you can't vote. So that's a big concern. Those are usually the two main ones. Then there's two other factors that kind of go along with these. Belief or thought that your vote doesn't count. The idea that I mentioned earlier, every vote is important. If you don't believe that, and you think it doesn't matter who I vote for, the other person's going to win, or the person I'm voting for, I know they're going to win. If you have that belief, then you might not vote. The fourth one is that you're too busy or you don't have time. Actually, by law, all employers are required to provide you with time to go vote. So that excuse really doesn't fly. You can go on your way to work, you can go on your lunch break, you can go after work. Polls are usually open till at least from 6 in the morning to at least 7 at night. Plenty of time to go vote. Okay? Now, one fact about voting is that, and Barack Obama's under my picture, you can't really see him there, I added him, and I didn't add Donald Trump yet, but there's usually a higher participation rate of voters in presidential election years, which is every 4 years, next one 2020, than when there's just a state or a local election, okay, like a governor, like a school board, like a board of supervisors. That's just common knowledge. And here's a chart to prove it. So 2000, 2004, 2008, you can see that the voter turnout in Virginia is higher than 2002, 2006, probably 2001, 3, 5, 7, etc. All right. And how can you as a student, you can't vote yet, you're under 18, but how can you participate in the election process or the democratic process? Well, you can work in campaigns. You can get some of your service hours. That's one of your civic responsibilities. You can also participate in classroom and online simulations, which we will do throughout this unit. Okay? All right. If you have any questions about the guided notes, let me know. But use this to study for your quiz and use this to help you better understand the voting process in the United States and Virginia. Thank you.